Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy at Added Treasures, etc. And today I would like to make a scalloped edge journal. So it's spring, there are lots of flowers, and everything kind of looks pretty and just fresh and bright. I really love this time of year because it seems like the whole earth is waking up. And that's what got me started thinking about a cover with a scalloped front edge. So the first thing I want to do is show you how I made the template. What I did was make a double-sided template. This side will be for the scalloped edge on the front and back covers for the journal cover. And then I used the other side to make I use this piece to make the smaller circles or the smaller scallops to go for the signatures. Then I marked it. This one is signature and this one is cover. So what I did is I took a piece of cardboard like this and I measured just 9 inches tall, and I didn't pay too much attention to the width because I knew it wasn't really going to matter as long as I had enough room for both sides. But it's 9 inches from the top to the bottom on the taller section. And you can see that there's like a little step here. Make sure that you can see it in the frame. Yeah. Okay, so there's a little step here and a little step here. So what I did is I just cut a 1/4 inch off of the top and the bottom. And then that's 8.5 inches. And then that aligns with the size of the signatures that I'm going to be putting in there. So to make the template, so you get your piece 9 by however wide, and then you're going to want to find the center for a vertical line and a center for a horizontal line. So that's right in the center. And then you can line up your ribbon or your circle. You can line it up. You can't really see it in the camera, but I can see this horizontal line through this hole, and that tells me where to place it, because this is the scallop that you want to make first. So then I just drew along, and then along the edge of the circle, and then I put one on this side and one on this side. Then I did the same thing with this piece on the other edge. So starting in the middle, and this one I just kind of had to eyeball it. So one here, and then one here, and one here. And then I used my craft knife. Once I drew the scallops on, then I used my craft knife to cut it out. That's why you need a really sharp knife, because the cardboard, it can be somewhat difficult to cut through, especially if it's stiff like this. This is my prototype. This is just a piece of colored paper, copy size 8.5 by 11, and I folded it in half and then drew this line down the center and then made these the scallops on it, just to kind of get an idea if this was something that I really wanted to do. And I thought, well, that looks like fun, so I think I'll give that a try. Okay, so that is the template. So now we want to make the cover pieces. So what I have here is 2 pieces of that same type of cardboard, and I cut them at 9 by 7. And I'm just simply going to take my template and line it up like so. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. Yeah, that's too close. Okay, I want to leave a little bit of space. Get this one out of the way here. I want to leave a little bit of space in front of the scallop, because otherwise when I go to cut it out, it's going to have this nice curve and then it's going to be flat. So I'll just leave, the tiniest little bit of space and draw my scallops like that. So now I've got my scallops here, and I'll do one for each cover, front and back. Now, you have some options. I'm going to save this for doing my signatures, probably in the next video. You can use scissors to cut these out, which may even be easier than using a craft knife. You just cut it out like this. Try to follow the line the best you can. And then you're going to have to kind of twist your scissors around like that. And I might bend it. But that's okay. It's going to get covered. And I see I even tore it a little bit. But like I said, that's going to be okay. Then I can clean up any of these edges, like this one here, with the craft knife. There we go. I actually like that method better than using the template to cut it out with the craft knife, because when you're cutting it with the craft knife, you could possibly accidentally move your template and then make a wrong cut. You also have to kind of keep shifting your position. And I have found that to get through this cardboard, you need about 4 passes. So, you know, it's up to you which way you want to do it, but it can be done either way. So now we have our front and back covers, starting out at 9 by 7, and now they match. They have the same scallops on both sides. So I'm going to set these aside for a minute. And then the other thing that I want to do is to make this be an open spine. So this is my spine piece. It's the same cardboard essentially, but I have it 2 inches wide and 9 inches tall. Your spine can be whatever dimensions you want. And there are many different shapes that you can put in here. Natasha from Treasure Books has an excellent tutorial on how to do an open spine journal. So I will link her channel down below, her video, and you can take a look at hers too. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to use a simple rectangle opening for the window. I left 3/8 of an inch on both sides, and then 1.5 inches from the top and 1.5 inches from the bottom. Okay, so, and I just marked it by measuring 3/8 inch here, 3/8 inch here, and then this line and this line, and then I've got my rectangle. So now I'm gonna make sure I cut it out without going over. Okay, there we have it. So now we have our spine piece. And you could, you know, if you don't have sturdy cardboard like this, you could very easily just put 2 pieces of, you know, cut out 2 pieces like this and then glue them together. And, you know, because this is kind of flimsy on the edges, I think I will go ahead and cut one more out like this, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I've glued 2 pieces of cardboard together with the cutouts aligned, and then I took my sanding block here and just sanded the edges just to make sure that there wasn't really anything overhanging on it anywhere. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal the edges with some of this Distress Collage Medium. I'm just going to paint it on, because after the collage medium is dry, I'm going to paint the edges. This is just going to be easier than trying to cover, you know, and wrap the cover pieces around, especially in these small, these narrow strip areas. So I'm just going to do this real quick and then let it dry. And then I have some blue paint that that I'm going to paint on over the ceiling. So this is just to seal it, so it doesn't fray, or, you know, I mean, it's just paper, layers of paper shoved together in a press, and I don't want them separating. So we're just going to do this. So my last video, I talked a little bit about what's going on with our house. Well, we still haven't been officially accepted. Our claim hasn't officially been accepted or officially denied. I mean, at first they denied it, but I guess it's still under review, so we'll see what happens. If you haven't watched the previous video, we had a slow leak, and now all the floors have to be replaced, and we're kind of living in a chaotic state right now, a little state of destruction, because they tore out a bunch of the floor and some of the walls around my pantry, and nothing's fixed yet. But whatever we do, we're also going to, even though the floors in the in my craft room in the bedroom are not the same laminate, in fact it's just carpet, we didn't do the floors in here. We're just going to replace all the floors with the same floor. So that means I have to pack up my craft room, which I've already started, and it's in a storage room now. Most everything. And but I wanted to get another video or two in before we move everything else to either the craft room, the storage room, or our motorhome. I'll be able to do some crafting and some videos inside the motorhome. Not quite ready to do that yet. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. This is the fabric paper that I want to use for the front and back cover. I do not think, though, that I have enough to wrap around. So I've got two pieces. So I'm going to use one for the front cover and one for the back cover. And that's totally fine. Okay, so what I want to make sure is mark them so I don't cut them in the same orientation, because then one would be backwards. So I'm just going to put this as the, let's see, not back cover. Let's do it this way. It'll be easier. Okay, so this one is the front cover, and this is the back cover. So that when they're, open, they're going to be like that. Okay, so, lost my pencil. So I want to make sure that the first thing I do is just trace around it with a pencil. And the back of this, that started out to be a sheet, just a regular bed sheet that I got from Value Village, but it's kind of bumpy because of all the glue, and there's some bubbles inside. And I'm just gonna trace around so that I have the outline. Okay, there's my outline. Now this is where this little seam gauge is going to come in handy. And I'll show you how I use this. Now I want to put 5/8 or 3/4 of an inch all the way around. And I think I'll go 5/8. So I'm just going to set this at the 5/8 mark. This is going to be, where I put my pencil mark. So this is 1/2 inch right here, and then 5/8 is right there, and that should be enough. Okay, so what I do is I line this little mark along the edge of my tracing, and I just go around and make little marks, and this is where I'm going to be cutting. That will give me enough to fold over and be the right shape. This is going to be my cutting line, if I haven't already said that. You can find these little gadgets in any, like Joann Fabric, or any sewing store, or like I did with at a thrift store. Just look in there. You know, most thrift stores have a sewing section, and I find this to be extremely handy in many applications. Okay, so now you can see it looks like a, you know, excuse me, backwards 3 over here. I hope you can see that. See if I can bring it up closer. When I draw it in, you should be able to see a little bit better. You can see it there. So I'm just going to take my straight edge and connect these lines. Okay, so now I'm going to take fabric scissors because it'll be easier to cut through everything. And I'm just going to cut along this outside line. And follow the curved line the best I can. So what I want to do now, before I glue this on here, and you can, it's nice because you can see the lines exactly where to put your piece. But to make this be able to fold over, we need to notch these edges. This is a sewing term. So when you have an outside curve like this, you put in little notches like so. Okay? And you go almost to the line. But the inside point, you just want to clip like that. So you can make a series of notches around these outside curves. You don't want to cut through your tracing mark, but you just want to cut almost to it. I'm going to cut here, a little there on the corner, and a little clip there, and then like that. So that'll be the front. So now I want to glue this piece just inside these lines. I'm not going to glue this part yet, but I want to make sure that the main part of the cover is firmly adhered. So I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac. since I'm gluing to fabric. I'll make sure I get it right inside the lines. Okay, good. Now I'm going to take my brayer and burnish it the best I can. And now we can go ahead and get the rest of the cover on, the rest of the little cover piece. Might need to get a little closer to this corner without going into it. And you can see where the fabric paper is kind of separating. And that's okay. We just add a little bit more glue to glue that back down. That happens sometimes with fabric paper. All right, now for the scalloped edges. So what I'm going to do is put the glue on the edges here and then fold each one of those little tabs to the cardboard. One little scallop at a time. Okay, so I really like that. So I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to do the other cover off camera. Okay, so I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so the glue is all dry around the edges of the spine cover, but while I was thinking about it, I'm only going to paint the inside edge because I'm going to use washi tape to cover the outside edge. So I'm just using this acrylic paint from Folk Art, and the color is teal topaz. Not that it really matters because, you know, you're gonna, if you decide to paint the edges, you're gonna use whatever color you want. But I'm just gonna paint it just so it's not a raw edge. And then by gluing the edges down, or, you know, gluing the edges with some of that Distress Collage medium, then that also seals the edge. Okay, while I was doing, you know, covering this panel for the back cover, I decided instead of making V-notches, I just wanted to just clip it. And I think that is actually a better option so that you know, so it's easier to overlap them. But it doesn't really matter either way. So I'm just going to finish gluing this down. Okay, so now that we have the front and back covers, it is a good idea at this point to, if you want to add a closure, like a ribbon closure or something like that, this is the time that you would want to do that. And I am going to add something. So I have this green ribbon that I think looks really nice with the colors in the fabric paper. I just want to make sure that I have enough on each end so that I can tie a nice bow. And that looks like enough. And if I need to trim it afterwards, I can trim it. So I'm just going to take 2 pieces of ribbon here, approximately the same length. And then just glue these down like that, just going through the middle of the center scallop. Oh, all right. So I'm going to set these aside until they're completely dry, and then we can work on the spine. Okay, so it took a few minutes for the paint to dry, but it's dry now. Now I want to work on the spine. So I'm just going to attach the outside piece for right now. Oh, actually, before I do that, what I wanted to do is cover the edges with washi tape. So I'm just going to use this right here, and it's 22 inches all around, but I'm going to, of course, do a little bit extra. Because I don't want to just barely meet up. Okay, so that's 23, so that should give me plenty. What I'm going to do is take my glue stick and just run it over the top, run the washi tape over the top of my glue stick, like so. And this will get it at least adhered to the edges. This is a totally optional step. I just wanted to do it just to see if it works. You can just paint the raw edges if you want to. That's totally fine. And now, now everything is sticking to me. So I'm just going to lay this on here, roughly try to get it in the middle and straight. And then bring the rest over, again, just trying to get it in the middle as much as possible. Kind of a tricky little maneuver. Bring this one around. And then overlap the excess. And try to meet it up. Okay, that should hold. All right, now I'm just going to snip the corners. And put some wax paper on my desk. This is probably, I mean, this definitely is obviously optional, but I just wanted to do it. Because sometimes you just want to do stuff. Well, that's where I'm at with this. Just to give it an extra little incentive to stick. Go over it with my brayer. Okay, excellent. I like it. Okay, now I can put the outside piece on, and I am just using wallpaper for this. I think I mentioned that I have a bunch of wallpaper books that I scored, and so I'm going to use one for the inside and one for the outside. We're not going to put the inside piece on yet, just the outside. So I've cut it out to the same dimensions and inked the edges. And now I'm just going to glue it on. So I'm going to double glue this because I don't want it to come off. Now you can use scrapbook paper, cardstock, fabric, whatever you want for this part. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is you just want it to look the way you want it to look. So it's going to be, you want it to be pretty. And you definitely want to get the glue all the way to the edges. So I do not want this to come off. So that's why I'm using Fabri-Tac and my glue stick. And this is where you kind of need to be as precise as possible, laying this on here so that it's even with the edges. Okay, you can see that I've got a little bit of overhang here, so I can just trim that off. Now, just to pretty it up, I'm just going to ink the edges on the inside. I've already inked around the outside. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now we need to connect the covers to the spine. And there's a way to do that. I'm going to use more wallpaper. Okay, I'm using this wallpaper so it will show from the outside of the journal, and then this wallpaper will show from the inside of the journal. But really only a little tiny bit of it will show, but this is what I'm going to do. Okay, now I'm gluing the outside piece. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So just inking the top and bottom, inside and out. So I'm going to put glue all along this edge. I'm putting it right just shy of the window opening. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, we really want this to be glued down. So I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to ink the inside edges. So let's go ahead and put the cover on the inside of the spine. And I'm going to add some glue here. And here. And also to the cover piece. Okay, I'm going to let the glue dry before I do any trimming on here. It's because I just want to make sure everything is nicely adhered. So I'll be back in a flash. Okay, so in order to make sure that it was adhered extremely well, I set this under some very heavy books for a little while and went and had lunch and watched an episode of Star Trek. So this is ready for attaching to the cover pieces now. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way so I have some room to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach it to the cover pieces like so. And to do that, I'm going to spread some glue on here, but also some of this tape. I'm going to put some tape on both pieces here. This tape is really strong, but I'm also going to be putting some glue on it as well. Not on top of the tape, but next to it. And this little thing, I made this because I saw Natasha from Treasure Books used one. I think hers was made out of plastic. I don't know where she got it, but I thought it was absolutely genius to use as a spacer. So what it does is it aligns your cover at the top so that it's even with the top of the spine, and also has a gap. So this gap is about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to leave this on here, and then that'll tell me, well, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a pencil line. Whoops. And then that will tell me where to put the glue. I'm going to do it on the other side as well. And you do have to leave a gap. I'm sure if you've made journals before, you know that, because you need to have the journal open and close, and it won't if they're too close together. All right. So I'm just setting my spacer in there, and I'm going to take my cover and just butt it right up against there, like so. And then add glue to the other side and go right along that pencil line. Okay, I can turn it over. And now the last piece is just to add the inside panels. And here I'm just using scrapbook paper. I think I want it to go that way. And it's kind of it's a little heavier. It's not like as heavy as cardstock, but I wanted something a little sturdy. And all I need to do now is just glue these in. Okay, here we have it. The journal cover is essentially finished. Now, if I were to do this again, and I probably will, what I would do, instead of just making the spine 2 thicknesses and gluing them together, I would sandwich this piece in between the 2 thicknesses, and then that way just making sure that everything is going to stay right where it's supposed to stay. What's really nice is that this book will open completely flat every time you use it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Obviously I have more work to do with this journal, and in my next video we'll be making the signatures and putting them together, and maybe even binding it in. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll give it a try. I will link to Natasha's video so that you can see her process. if you did like it, I would appreciate it if you would leave me a comment and hit the like button, because that really does help my channel. And it is growing, and I would really love it if you would subscribe. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody, and I will see you in my next video. And don't forget, let the serendipity find you. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.